Yeah, the family movie is almost non-existent. There are some, but you hear the movie makers continually say, "We just give the public what it wants." And when I mentioned that to Steve Allen before he died, he said, "Well, then why don't you just give them drugs?" Because a lot of the public wants drugs. It's not all the public that wants filth and perversion and obscenity and profanity.
Only one performer rivaled the chart dominance of Elvis Presley in the late 50s, and that was Pat Boone. With his trademark white buck shoes and perfectly combed hair, Pat Boone was the very essence of wholesome American values on television and also in film. Hey, thanks for taking time to be with me again.
Oh, good to be with you, Jerry.
This is sort of our annual get-together.
Yeah, we're going to keep meeting this way, whether we need to or not.
Yeah, right.
Like a Saturday night bath.
There's a lot of things that I always think about talking about when I'm talking to you, but a couple of things obviously that come to mind. One, of course, is your grandson.
Yeah.
Because we have expected him to be the miracle boy, and it seems that that's pretty much what's happening.
And he is. You know, people say, "Are you surprised at his progress?" I say, no, I'm surprised it's taking this long, because we have believed from the start that that what seemed fatal, the paramedics, when he fell 40 feet through the skylight of a...
I was about to say, we need to tell people what happened. Some people wouldn't know.
It was 3 years ago now that he, 6'4", handsome, just a college graduate, going to be married in November. It was in June. And he went up with a buddy, a roommate, to lie on the roof of this apartment building, get some sun, and there was a skylight, unprotected, white plexiglass set into a white pebbly roof in the bright afternoon sun. And he either tripped or stepped on it and fell 40 feet, hitting the railings on the third and second floor to the concrete floor. The paramedics that were there in 6 minutes felt he was in the throes of death. He was a dead man. They rushed him anyway, and thank God they did do some heart shocks and stuff to try to get his heart stimulating, because it wasn't beating and he wasn't breathing. But so they thought, well, this man's gone. And they rushed him to UCLA and into emergency. My wife arrived as the van, the paramedic van, was still running, and they just rushed him in. One of the paramedics strolled out, and my wife Shirley said, "That's my grandson you just took in there. How is he?" She had no idea of the enormity of the problem. And he just shook his head and said, "Don't get your hopes up, lady." And that paramedic, in a few days, when there was something on the radio or some news thing about how he was clinging to life, he said to someone who told it to us, that guy's alive? He was dead when I took him to UCLA. He's still living? He couldn't believe it. Well, so he is our miracle boy, and then they prepared us after a couple of weeks that he would always be on a tracheostomy. He would only be a vegetable mentally. The damage to his brain was too great. And I asked at the time, this was after only a couple of months, I said, well, aren't there instances where the brain recycles and recircuits and finds ways to get around that atrophy? And the doctor sort of looked at me like, well, yeah, then maybe 4% of the cases. Yeah, don't expect anything like that.
But isn't that to some degree what's happening?
Oh yeah, because he's talking and laughing and singing and remembering and learning.
Pat, this is not really a surprise to you. You call America to prayer.
Yeah.
In one of the most unusual places.
Yeah. On
the Larry King Show.
Yes. Yeah. And Larry invited me to come to talk about it and to do that very thing, call for prayer, even though admittedly
he invited you to come and call for prayer?
Yeah, and he is an agnostic, he says. Yeah. And he and I have spent a lot of time together, and I don't think he'd mind my saying my amateur psychology, but I was trying to find out why, having been raised in an Orthodox Jewish home many years ago, back in Brooklyn, why he is an agnostic. And it turns out his father died when he was 9, had a heart attack, and just unexpectedly died. Left his mom and he and his brother alone, and Larry has never been able to answer his own question about if there's a good God who knows, is all-powerful and loves us, why do terrible, unfortunate things happen to good people if he could prevent it? And this prevents him from, see, he lost his own dad, and fathers are supposed to be examples to their kids of, as best we can, of what God's like. We're supposed to educate our kids and help them develop a consciousness and an awareness and a relationship with God. Well, if your dad's gone, you don't have a relationship with him, and it's hard to think about a relationship with a Heavenly Father.
Was that a big step of faith on your part to go on the Larry King Show, call the nation to prayer, and make the kinds of declarations, the faith declarations, the faith statements that you made that God is going to bring healing?
Well, I heard somebody say once, hope is the antechamber to faith. That it's the waiting room. When you may not have enough faith, you at least have hope. And if you move into hope, it becomes faith. In our case, we were desperate because Ryan was just barely clinging to life, and the doctors helping him and the nurses held out almost no hope. They were trying to prepare us. This man is not going to make it. Not going to make it through the first night. He required 36 pints of blood just to keep him alive until his own heart and lungs began to process the blood, and that's why he was oxygen deprived. So they felt, well, there's no chance. No brain is going to be able to recover from this. And so what we knew our only answer was God.
Yeah.
So now we call out, yes, we have faith, but we're almost like the man who said to Jesus, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. I mean, I don't believe enough. And so when Larry gave me the opportunity to come on, I did issue a call asking people to pray for our grandson.
Powerful
and it
call.
went out around the world, and the response was incredible. It astonished CNN, because they were getting telegrams and letters and phone calls and emails from all over the world, including Israel. Larry said, you know, we've had emails and correspondence they've been praying for you at the Wailing Wall, praying for your grandson. You know, putting little folded up prayers into and davening at the wall and they don't know you, maybe, they know you by reputation, they don't know your grandson, and so we've been effusive in thanking Larry for the repeated times. There have been 3 or 4 more times. Of course, the last time we were on his show, we wheeled Ryan right into the studio there, and he sat opposite Larry and kept sort of chuckling, looking at Larry, and Larry says, he thinks I'm funny. I said, well, I know what he's thinking. I'm sitting here, this is the real Larry King. Those are his real suspenders, and I'm sitting here looking at the real Larry King. We were too complacent. We took for granted what hundreds of thousands, I guess by now 1 million or more Americans have died to preserve, and that is the basic constitutional freedoms and limits and responsibilities.